Howdy, Possum Patty here, and I'm going to do some junk journaling, so come on along. This is my altered composition notebook. It's a fatty patty and it's almost complete. I've got, I don't know, like 6 or 7 pages, something like that to go. And I have a few ideas to do on some of the pages. I want to do another full moon page. I did one the other day for the seed full moon because I went out and planted a bunch of seeds. And in the Celtic tradition, this full moon is also known as the Willow Moon. And I have some willow memories that I'd like to put down on this page. But right now what I'm doing is drawing a willow tree. It's hard to see with just a pencil with the full moon behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this page so you can see it better, and then I'll be back. Well, between here and the closet, I changed my mind about which pen I was going to do this with, and I think I'm going to use the Elegant Writer pen, which is like a calligraphy pen. It has kind of like a flat tip, and when you draw with it like that, you can take a brush with a little bit of water and do some shadowing. So I thought this might be good for the texture on the tree. And also, when you use the water, it comes out in different colors. Sometimes you can see some blues and greens and some reds. And I thought that might look pretty. So I'm going to try and keep the circle clean, because that's going to be the white moon behind the tree. And this memory of a willow tree is the one that was in my grandmother Ruth's yard. It was a huge old willow tree on the side of her house. And I have a picture here, and this is her house, and you could just see the willow tree right there. It had these huge branches that came out, went all across the yard, and it was very old. In this picture there's a ladder leaning up on it. So with this Elegant Writer pen, you can kind of sketch and paint at the same time. Now you can't put too much water on this paper because I am using cardstock. I should be using like a multimedia paper or something. It had huge roots. And one thing I remember as a child was that the heartwood of the tree was rotting away. And it had a split in it here, and you could like sit inside the tree here. So I'm going to make that a little dark spot right there. you don't know much about painting, you should try to get these elegant writers and just sketch something. It's very simple. And then you just take your brush and touch it. And you've got a pretty nice little watercolor look to your sketch. When you're sketching tree branches, pay attention to your body. Make sure all parts of your body are very relaxed. Make sure you're not tightening up your shoulder muscles or your back or even your legs. Make sure you're sitting comfortably and very relaxed. And then take the pen and hold it very loosely. And just, excuse me, and just as loose as you can without dropping it. And let the pen wiggle, make fat lines and thin lines and crooked lines. And the looser you are, the more realistic your tree will be. Because if you're really tight and you're gripping the pen really hard and you're trying to like draw every little wiggle and stuff, it just won't come out natural. You just want it to be very loose. You want to remember to put some branches behind other branches or in front of other branches. And some are thicker and some are thinner. And they go off in different directions. I'm not going to put too many on here, but just so people get the idea. And then you can go back, put a little extra texture on here. Old trees are really gnarly. And the branches get thinner towards the points. Thinner towards the tips, I should say. Okay, I'm just going to take my brush and do a little coloring. I'm going to start on this side, I guess. When you get down towards the tip, you probably don't want it too wet. Where the branches come off the tree, you can make that part a little darker. Now there's nothing on this brush but water, and my little drawing is doing all the work. Kind of like those coloring books. You remember those coloring books? The magic pages. And you just took a plain water and a paintbrush and touched it to the page, and all the colors would appear. Well, this elegant writer is kind of like that, isn't it? Just touch a little bit of water. And what do you remember about your grandmother's house? My grandmother had lilacs out the kitchen window. She had mint growing by the back door, the kitchen door. Lots of flowers. She put flowers on the dinner table every single day of the year. In the winter she used evergreens and berries and some flowers from the florist. And she had an old crabapple tree. We used to pick the crab apples and make jelly. Crabapple jelly with my dad. And she had Concord grapevines. And it was my job to sit there and poke the skins off of the grapes. You take the grape and you just squash it like that. And you put the insides of the grape in one bowl and the skins in another bowl. And she turned it into grape jelly. I don't know that part, how she did that, but I think she cooked the insides after she got the seeds out, and then the skins separately. I should look that up. So we had homemade grape jelly. She put it in little jars and sealed it with the wax on the top. I remember that. And we had mint tea from the garden. You can leave some white showing when you're painting. It doesn't have to be a solid color. You should have some dark spots and some light spots. This branch is going behind that branch, so I'm making this branch a little darker. You don't have to make your tree realistic, but it should be believable. And I'm going to show you what I mean in 1 second because I just noticed something. And that's this branch here. Should be running behind this part of the tree there. So I need to do something there. So your eye's following this branch. And this is this tree here. And this branch should be coming up here. And I was missing that. So we're going to fix that. Like that. And I gotta put a little bit more texture here. Look at those gorgeous little pinks and reds in there. Some blues. All I did was outline the moon, and I used this American Girl sparkly pen that I got at a flea market years ago. Because I like sparkly pens. So we get a little bit of a yellow sparkly moon. And I think I'm going to put the picture of Grandma's house on there, just with a little background, and stick it in the corner. And I'm going to do a little bit of journaling here somewhere on the page, and then glue it into the journal. So I was just going to glue this picture down, and it says on the back, April 1962. So is this picture perfect or what? This is the Willow Moon. There's the willow tree. This is April 1962. And there you have it, a very simple Possum Patty page. And I guess I needed that after yesterday's Cray Cray page, huh? But I drew a willow with my Elegant Writer pen, and then just took a brush and some plain water, and that did all the shading and shadows and colors, reds and blues. And I used I used the American Girl sparkle brush just to do a simple moon behind. I put a picture in here of Grandma's house. This is my memory of the willow tree in her side yard. Did just a little bit of journaling. And since I'm only going to do one page right now, and it stopped raining, let's go take a willow walk outside. Well, it stopped raining, and I heard a bird singing. So let's take a little willow walk around the yard. The willow tree is in the Salix family, S-A-L-I-X. And if you've ever taken an aspirin, aspirins are acetylsalic acid, and it comes from the name of the willow tree, Salix. And traditional medicines used to boil the bark or the inner bark of the willow trees, make a tea that reduced fevers and aches and pains, which is what we take our aspirins for. This is a little weeping willow that I planted last year, and it made it through the winter okay. And this is what the willow leaves look like. And the weeping willow is not native to my country. The weeping willow's name is Salix babylonica, but it's not from Babylonia, it's from China. So the weeping willow trees are native to China, and you'll see a lot of paintings of willow trees in traditional Chinese art. Now across the yard over there on the other side is another willow, so we're going to go take a look at that. We're going to pass by the little creeping phlox, or pinks. And this is what the full pink moon was named after. I'll go around the bird feeders, and over by the windmill is another kind of willow tree, or another kind of salix. And this one is Salix discolor. And this is a pussy willow. It's not the native pussy willow. The native pussy willows are black, Salix nigra. And I need to get a native one. I had a native one in Pennsylvania, but I haven't planted one in my new yard yet. So this did get some of those little pussy toes on it, little fuzzy things. But if you noticed, There's a lot of leaves missing on this, and I think the deer have been eating it. But they left the top. And everything I planted last year has this little pink tag on it, this little marker on it, because we hired a guy to come cut down some trees, and I didn't want him to fell the trees on top of what I had planted. Okay, in the backyard is another weeping willow. And remember, these are native to China. I think this one's a little bit bigger than the one in the front, but they were planted at the same time. And it gets very wet back here. And willows love wet feet. You usually find the willows growing near a river or stream bank or in a damp area. They love the moisture. They don't like dry areas at all. But if one gets established in a dry area, I guess it'll keep growing. Okay, we're going to walk around the other side of the house now. Oh, let me show you on the tag here. See, it says Salix. They're calling this one a green weeping willow. And this last willow tree is native also to China and Asia. And it's a Salix Matsudana tortuosa, a dragon's claw willow, or a curly willow, or a corkscrew willow, sometimes it's called. And it'll get really curly, twisty branches on it. And you'll see these a lot of times in flower arrangements, or you'll see them for sale in different stores. Just showing you the branch here. It's curly and wavy. As it gets older, it'll get curlier. Things are still wet from the rain. Well, folks, that concludes our willow walk for today, and I hope you enjoyed just a little bit of nature in my yard. Thanks for coming along. Well, that was fun, and I hope you learned a little bit about willow trees. I just want to say happy junk journaling, or happy nature junk journaling, and thanks for coming along today. Bye-bye now.